So you've heard the news, ICE agents are quitting in droves. This is a real thing. Homeland Security can't even hide it. And some ICE agents are only still working there until they get their student loans forgiven. On top of that, when you Google ICE facility attack Texas, you'll see there was an ambush made on ICE agents because people are not only at a threshold, they are past it. But back to Adam Boyd, citing ICE is only chasing deportation quotas. When did that become apparent to you, Adam? Was it when Kristi Noem set the quota at 3,000 deportations a day? Was it when ICE began pulling up to people while getting surgery to deport them? Was it when ICE began deporting people with no criminal record? Or was it when ICE began arresting people at their check-in for their green card? Officers and agents have spent much of the past 5 months clocking weekends and waking up at 4 a.m. for pre-dawn raids. Their top leaders have been ousted or demoted, and their supervisors themselves under threat of being fired or pressuring them to make more and more arrests to meet quotas set by Trump and advisor Stephen Miller. Sad day. But we may be entirely missing the point that their ICE agents' conditions were perceivably comfortable up until now, but once the public began calling them out as cowards with masks for fear they'd be doxxed and experience the modicum of the treatment they doled out, now they're uncomfortable. Now they're uncomfortable. They were comfortable treating people like this. They were comfortable breaking up families. They were comfortable doing all the horrible things that they were doing up until now when they were pointed out for doing it. Now we're finding out who is behind the masks of the ICE agents are just a bunch of county correctional officers who have been deputized. And apparently, according to Adam Boyd, people who want loan forgiveness. Think about that. Would you be willing to break up families, do all these horrible things so your student loans could be forgiven?
So now ICE agents are starting to quit their job. Why? Why are they quitting their job? Well, now they're afraid that people are going to follow them home. They're going to get doxxed. They're afraid that they're going to be injured on the job. All the stuff that they've been doing to these people. It's crazy. But yeah. And so you got political figures saying, hey, don't communicate like ICE is like the Nazis, or that the detention center is like a concentration camp. They all are starting to say, hey, we're afraid for our safety and things of that magnitude. This is crazy. This is crazy. They got extremely aggressive and have been and probably will still be aggressive for a while. And then if they're quitting, guess what the United States government is going to do? They're going to purchase bounty hunters and mercenaries to do the job. Look, it's not something that's sustainable. Going out and treating people like this is not sustainable. People will rise up, and there's never going to be enough of individuals to treat people this bad in these United States in this current time for people not to step up and say something. So, hey, probably shouldn't have got that job. Probably shouldn't have started. It might have been something that you wasn't even as excited about. You probably got pushed into it. But I'm not giving anybody any outs. You did the work. You treated people like crap. And now you're running with your tail tucked between your legs saying, oh, I don't want to get doxxed. I'm afraid that there's going to be injury on the job and all these other different things. This is crazy, y'all. But this is exactly what we're going through. This instability in our economy. This is instability in our government. People making immoral decisions. It's ridiculous. And that's why we want you to join us. Black out the system, y'all. Black out the system. Check out the video after this. It's going to give you a few details. And if you want to stay in the loop and get updates, please go to my profile, click the link, give me your information, and I'll make sure you get all the information as we move forward. See y'all at the top.
Well, breaking fuck the news. I don't know if you guys have been hearing the reports that a lot of ICE agents have been quitting. Well, I'm about to fill you in on one of many reasons why they are quitting. 10 alleged anti-ICE militants have been arrested after an armed ambush against agents in Texas on the 4th of July. The attack occurred at the Prairieland Detention Facility in Alvarado. Around 10:40 p.m., 10 to 12 militants, all dressed in black military-style clothing, began shooting fireworks, vandalizing cars at the facility. This was apparently a ploy to lure out the agents. When the police officers arrived on the scene, one of the gunmen shot him in the neck. Another shot 20 to 30 rounds at the facility correction officers. The militants then fled the scene. No one was unalived. Police found 12 sets of body armor, spray paint, flags saying, "Resist fascism," "Fight oligarchy," flyers saying, "Fight ICE terror with class war, free all political prisoners," more fireworks, weapons, and mobile phones across multiple searches over the weekend. Now, But yes, all 10 people who supposedly were a part of this ploy have been arrested and are being charged with a plethora of things. All I can say is this just reminds me of a scene from a movie where I believe in the movie, and I'm not saying, taking a life is right. Let's just clarify that. But there's a scene in a movie where the government was just like doing shitty shit and the people got tired. And I specifically remember a scene where they were like, if we burn, you burn with us. But I just can't put I don't know, man. I can't put my finger on.
So now ICE agents are quitting in droves. They're becoming unhappy with their jobs, with the long hours, the deportation quota, and the overall workload. They're quitting. So let's continue.
It was underreported for a reason, but some folks attacked an ICE facility the other day. The activists fired fireworks to lure the ICE officers out of the facility, and then someone shot the officers. Is that nothing but an open response from citizens against our government? Is that not a sign that the social contract is broken? That our government is at active war against its own citizens? Not the sort of war in the background that's been going on for decades with our lack of access to healthcare, affordable housing, and things like that. That's violent too. This is overt. The folks who planned this attack had full military gear. My question is, if your neighbors, your family, your community is under attack by the federal government, and there are people being shoved into vans, disappeared left and right without a trace, nobody can find them, you have no idea where they are, they could be in another country by now. What other response do you have? Government hasn't answered to being yelled at and having signs held in front of their residences. They haven't answered to phone calls and emails. So of course, when your voice goes unheard, the next thing to do is to get really loud. For the record, I do not endorse violence. However, when we see violence, it's important to contextualize it. When all you've ever known is violence, and then the government turns around and ratchets that violence up to a degree you've never seen before. When ruthless, masked, unidentified people come for your neighbors and loved ones, what other recourse do you have under a system which tells you to sit down, shut up, and wait for your turn to speak, and maybe you'll see change? This is not the last time this is going to happen. In fact, I would venture to say that half the reason this hasn't really been reported on and published in the media too much is because they're worried it's going to make people start thinking about doing the same thing. And if this incident and that potential domino effect isn't a sign of the very precarious place the American empire finds itself in at the moment, well, I don't know what else to tell you. The deterioration is quickening. And some of us might have to learn some skills we didn't imagine ourselves learning very soon.
So if you are not aware, because most news outlets didn't report on this, an ICE facility in Texas was ambushed by 12 civilians. These are 10 of their mugshots. I will now read to you the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. For more context and explanation, I had to put my glasses on. The people have a right to keep and bear arms for the common defense, and, as in time of peace, armies are dangerous to liberty. That ought not to be maintained without the consent of the legislator. And the military power shall always be held in exact subordination to the civil authority and be governed by it. Just wanted to let all my fellow Americans know that. All right, bye.